With me when I say that the fake news media, the mainstream media especially, is coordinated in their attack, and not just the attack on us as conservatives, but the attack on withholding the truth and manipulating the truth. Aren't they?
Yeah,
It's coordinated, right?
I think you put it succinctly and very well. The problem we face is that they are very well coordinated and they're very much in sync and they're very well funded. So when you take an operation like a Soros funded campaign and you run it through the New York Times, CNN, Politico, and whatever fake news media they have out there, what you get is the worst thing you can get: disinformation.
Yep.
Whether it's Russiagate and my time defeating that narrative with the Nunes memo and the investigation I ran,
Yep.
or impeachment one, impeachment two, Hunter Biden laptop, Afghanistan, what have you, now the Mar-a-Lago raid. These forces join up because they say anything we can do to defeat Trump, even though by doing so we're defeating the truth and things that would benefit our country, like border security and combating terrorism and narcotics trade. They don't care. They seem to throw that out the window. The migrant crisis and flying people around is the latest example of their hypocrisy, because they don't want this calamity touching their rich, high, lofty walls. But it's fine if we're left to deal with it. Now you see people want to prosecute the likes of Ron DeSantis for sending illegals to Martha's. But you just know you got it right, and you're hitting the right chord.
I must admit, although I don't follow a lot of the meme makers, there have been a lot of hilarious Martha Vineyard memes in the last few days. I have chuckled out loud. Hey, I was on a plane with a couple of friends of yours at an event this past week, and I know you were trying to get there, and the schedules just couldn't work out down in Huntington Beach, the Newport Beach, California area, with our mutual friend Cameron Moore.
Yeah.
I was on the plane with General Flynn, a few others. Steve Bannon was at the event. I know a friend of yours. You talk about funding, and General Flynn mentioned it to us privately as we're flying down there. We needed George Soros on our side. We just don't have. We have lots of folks that have the money, but they fall victim to the intent of what the liberals want, and that is, if you do it, we're going to cancel you. We're gonna boycott you. We're gonna bully you. We're gonna silence you. And so,
Yeah.
even though they've got this money, they're still afraid, and it's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And the way I tell people we counteract that is there's a lot of people like Cameron Moore, who's great, who put out the Fight with Cash Durham card deck, which
Yes.
is so cool. And we raise so much money for our charity. He's a great American. You do stuff like that. You bring people together at Huntington Beach and you host an event, and it's not your mega bazillionaires, but it's people who believe in the mission. Or you offer a $20 deck of cards that supports charities that brings thousands of people together to unify our mission. And I think that's where we win. I almost don't want a George Soros type of person on our side. I want America to rise up together at the grassroots level, because that's how we're going to win in November and beyond. I don't want to buy it. I want people to do the right thing, and so we earn it. And so come November, when we take both houses, we can stand there and say, Facebook didn't buy this for us, Twitter didn't buy this for us, Google didn't, and neither did George Soros. The American people voted this through for us, and that is the ultimate win. It's the longer, tougher road. We could go out there and put on disinformation campaigns if we want. We could go out there when we were in the Trump administration and leak information if we want, if it benefited us, but we know that's not the right way to do it, so we didn't do it. We took the tougher road, and that's something I learned from Devin Nunes. You got to do it the right way. So when the truth comes out fully, they're the hypocrites and they're the criminals and not you.
Cash, well met. I must say, well met. Yeah, you're spot on with the victory that we seek resides within the truth, and it resides within we the people taking the truth and putting it forward by virtue of our efforts and our involvement. And that's where we've missed it. If we're honest with ourselves as conservatives, really, since the time of World War II, if not a little bit before then, we as conservatives have just simply not been involved in our local levels of government. And that's part of the victory as well, I think, about what you're talking about.
No, you're absolutely right. And I do speaking engagements across the country. I'm heading down to Florida here at the end of the week, with an event with Dinesh, who we partnered on the Plot Against the King with. And what we try to tell people, or what I tell people at least, is, look, I don't need you to be the next governor or the next, senator or the next, congresswoman or congressperson. I need you to get in at the local level: town council, school board education meeting, county supervisor, coaching,
Exactly.
at your schools.
Yep.
I need you to be in those positions because those matter more than the national positions. And once you get that right, you see sort of a cyclical effect of people coming out and turning out. And I'm not saying the midterms aren't important. We have to put on a massive campaign to get it out. But it's not a top end constitutional republic. It's a bottom end constitutional republic. And what I mean by that is it has to be at the grassroots level, the primary, the focus, the heat every day. And then every couple of years, yeah, we have a big election cycle. But I agree with you.
So the mantra, I want to get your take on this. And ladies and gentlemen, Kash and I haven't written a script. We haven't rehearsed any of this.
Right. We barely met.
We barely met. Just here today, this morning. We've met once or twice at a Clay Clark Reawaken America, but that was just in passing. Our first real conversation right here. What I've said, Kash, we get about 4 million people a month that watch the show, and they hear me say quite often that this fix 2020 or bust mantra. There's lots of people. We can't do anything else until we fix 2020. I'm not moving beyond 2020. It's a mantra of paralysis. Now, look, no one agrees more than me that we need to fix what happened in 2020. But as conservatives, there are many battlefronts, 3 key ones, I think, that we're facing. First of all, yeah, let's work about and go about the business of fixing 2020. No argument there, but don't let that paralyze you into inaction for fully engaging in 2022. The second front, fully engaging right now, because to your point, I do think we're going to take both houses. I think we're going to take 50 seats in the House. I am hoping for 5 or 6 in the Senate, and then finally prepare for 2024. So fix 2020, engage fully in 2022, and plan for 2024. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I'm a forward-looking guy, and it might turn off some of your viewers or people that have listened to me, but I've said it, and I'm not going to change. I can't go back and put President Trump in office. There's no constitutional mechanism to do so, even were we to get through all the courts and show all the world that it was totally rigged and the election would have been changed. Most of us know that.
Right.
But I can't do anything with that. And look, I'm fortunate enough where I talk to President Trump frequently, and I don't advise him dissimilarly. I tell him, sir, you are the face of the MAGA movement, America First movement, Republican Party of today. And if we can't get going forward for the midterms and beyond, then we are going to be talking about history in the past instead of creating our future. And I agree with you. I think the focus has to be on the everyday mission to win going forward. And here's the thing, people, yes, I know there's going to be problems with election integrity and people have lots of worries as a result of 2020. But here's what I tell, and I think President Trump says the same thing: win so big that it doesn't matter. And it's not like we don't have the issues on our side. That's the thing. We're not fighting an uphill battle. Our issues of border security, defeating terrorism, combating narco trafficking, defeating human trafficking, education, America first, our importance in the national stage, taking on China, Russia, Iran. All these things we did in the Trump administration, people are now seeing the effects of when you don't do them, what happens to your communities and your youth. You get Chinese fentanyl killing 100,000 children, the highest ever in just a year and a half life cycle since the Biden administration took over. That's just one thing. And once that hits, one is too many, but 100,000, it's starting to hit too many communities where they're like, and as your friend, as Tom Holman said, every state's a border state now. It's, those days are long gone where you got to be on the water or you have to literally border Mexico. They're flying it in, they're dropping it off. And those are the issues that people are starting to see that matter most. The other thing is, and it kind of dovetails with, why I wrote, not why, but helps me on my messaging of my books, The Plot Against the King, is don't piss off suburban moms. Yeah. You can't do that. Loudoun County told the world what happens if you do that and tell suburban mothers what their children are going to be taught in school.
Don't tick off the mama bears, ladies and gentlemen. That's the takeaway. You're right. And so the audience here, we talk about this. I often refer, I in jest, but also with a certain sense of seriousness, I say this audience is the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land, because they've heard me say since the show began a couple of years ago, we've got to focus in the here and now. The plan, the people, we're the plan, and our involvement. The voting is one thing. Obviously, we got involved on election day in 2020 by multiple. We elected President Trump by 80 million votes. Let's just be honest. But what we weren't doing is we weren't poll watchers. We weren't committee men and women. We weren't election observers. We didn't canvass. We weren't looking at the voter registration rolls. So that's the wake up call that we've been called to participate in this time, and that's the difference. To your point, I can't not unwrap my head from that. That's the involvement that we need.
Oh, we need it on a massive scale. You're totally right. And the other thing we need is, and I think we're winning this battle, is people are turning off the fake news media. They're literally turning off cable TV and saying, wait a second, okay, maybe you made a mistake on Russiagate, the biggest criminal conspiracy ever conducted by the FBI and DOJ. But what about impeachment fiasco 1? You made that one up. What about impeachment 2? What about the Hunter Biden laptop? What about January 6th? What about Mar-a-Lago? What about insert anything? The disaster that was the Afghanistan withdrawal, which is very personal to me as a former chief of staff to DOD. I think when you put these stories out there of history, and Americans are like, wait a second, we got duped time and time and time again. All we got to do is win that middle, though. You know that. Win that middle percentage. That's our target. And those people have come out and publicly said, had I known the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation, like it was, they would not have voted for President Biden, excuse me. And they would have voted Trump. They were quiet and they just said, oh, okay, the media is telling us this. And what did we show? We showed again that it was a total fiction. And, we got to focus on things like that and John Durham and where he's going. And we got to pound the pavement. Just because we talk about it every day, most Americans might not talk about it but once a month.
You're right. Absolutely right. That's why to people that watch the show, it sounds repetitive, but folks, we've got to, you got to keep on chipping away at this thing. Kash, do you get any sense at all? I mean, really, when you look at the state of play in America, and especially the weaponization of the Department of Justice, the Mar-a-Lago raid, the persecution of the January 6th folks, et cetera, in the quiet still of night, when you're reflecting on all of this, do you have any fear that President Trump will be indicted for anything that the left would try to throw at them?
I don't believe so. Based on my positions in government and as a national security prosecutor and intelligence official, and my time in DOD as a civilian, it just demonstrates to me the two-tier system of justice, which we talked about, that has to be defeated. That is the one thing I firmly believe is ticking off Americans more than anything else. They see it unfolding before their eyes. They see it, whether it's the Jan 6 prosecutions or whether it's the treatment of President Trump in the Mar-a-Lago raid. Now, what they'll probably do is go after people in President Trump's orbit, like Watergate all over again, to try to get to the top. And if they get one or two, then they'll say victory, and this is our narrative, and we couldn't get to Trump because, everybody got in the way and they all lied or something like that. But
how are you doing in all of that? Have they begun to come after you any worse than they have in the past?
I mean, the death threats keep coming out. Of course, the DOJ I used to work for intentionally doxed me and leaked my name in the most infamous search warrant in U.S. history. What was the purpose of having my name in there? It served nothing. The rest of the next 7 pages were redacted. They did that intentionally. What happened? More death threats, more racist threats. They leaked my phone number and my email. So people were calling me personally, sending letters to my homes and things like that. They don't care about that. They care about drowning us out and suffocating us because they have the mainstream media. My attorney called Jay Bratt, the guy that is running this investigation at DOJ, the day it happened. We have 21 days later, still no phone call back with an explanation as to why you leaked my name when it served no absolute value in your investigation. And I know that as a former federal prosecutor, it served one value: to rally the mainstream media and the fake news to assail me. And they don't care about the death threats or the vicious things that they say only Trump supporters say. No,
right.
You guys are calling me a minority, the nastiest stuff I've ever been called in my life. But we will not bend the knee to these government gangsters or these heathens in the fake news media. We will just keep pounding away at the truth, like we do on your show, like we do on Truth Social, and we'll just keep going.
Amen. We a couple of minutes left here, Kash. I know your time is precious. We want to talk again, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see this on the screen throughout our interview. Plotagainsttheking.com. Make sure you stop over there, support the book, tell your family. This is a topic we all need to be talking about. Please support that. Kash, when you I've had the honor of meeting President Trump twice at Mar-a-Lago. Had a 30-minute meeting with him, and you try to ask him the questions, and you ask, Mr. President, are you going to run again? And you get the answer, I think you're going to be very happy. And that what's your take? Is there a presidential run in 2024 with our beloved President Trump?
I think what you'll see from him is he's doing these rallies. You just saw him in Ohio,
Yeah.
in Youngstown. You see how energized he is, and there's only one thing that drives him to that effect. He doesn't need to be president again. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah.
Super successful businessman with a wonderful family. The thing that drives him, when I ask him, is our country's so messed up. We got to fix it. And if it's me, him, Trump, to do it, then he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the answer.
Yeah.
Unless there's like an overnight change in the status of where America is. And tragically, I don't think there's a possibility for that. I think, once the midterms are over with and the results, I think I agree with you, are going to be what you predicted. Then it's all on until 2024. And, I fully believe the man for that fight is President Trump. So
Great.
I think
Good
he'll
news.
jump in.
Good news. One final question before I let you go, Kash. If that happens, if President Trump decides to run, if you were advising him, as I'm sure you probably will be, who would you recommend as a running mate, just out of curiosity?
Oh, wow.
Or is there a list, your top 3, top 4 folks?
Yeah, actually, here's what I would tell him. I'd say the America First movement is based on Donald Trump and MAGA. Your running mate is something you can decide a year and a half later. First let's rally the troops and let's see who survives the test of time, because you might have someone who just wants the position, who says what you want in the beginning, and then you're stuck with them. So what I would actually tell them is hold powder. You don't need a VP candidate right away. You'll get one, but you'll get one down the road.
And what about, okay, well met and well said, his inner orbit? You're part of that inner orbit. Mm-hmm. It seems, at least to me, and before I let you go, the Achilles heel to a degree of President Trump was his inability, or whoever screens the people that get into that inner orbit. There seems, at least from the outside looking in, me being one of those people, that there was a lot of, or a certain, maybe not a lot, but a certain noticeable amount, at least, of disloyalty to President Trump. How does that happen?
It was just mistakes. I don't even know if I'd call it disloyalty to him versus disloyalty to the oath of offices that you took from the commander in chief, who's at the top of the chain. Guys like Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray,
yes,
and Mark Esper and Bill Barr and so many other lower level folks who just thought, oh, I'm going to save America from this president. That's actually not your job. He wasn't breaking the law. So all that you're only doing is serving so you can exploit your own ego. And I'm in there, and I'm going to be the one pounding also away to say this person's the right person. The bench exists. We just have to go pick the right people and put them in. And I'm going to fight like heck to make sure that at least that happens, because how you run a government is dictated entirely by your personnel choices. And I think we learned from the first go round that we got to get it right the whole way.
Kash, I on behalf of this audience and myself, it makes us all feel a certain great sense of relief to know that you're in there advising the president, and that your opinion has his ear and has his attention. I can't thank you enough for that. And ladies and gentlemen, again, theplotagainsttheking.com. Kash, couple of seconds left. What it's up to you. I'll give you the final word.
Let's change our education platform. Go to plotagainsttheking.com. Let's put it in every school, every library, and follow me on @Kash on Truth Social. It's the only website or social media I'm on. Check it out. We are putting out tons of information to load you up for the fight with the truth. Check it out. plotagainsttheking.com and @Kash on Truth Social. Thanks so much.
Kash Patel, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with me, folks. I'll be right back with some more thoughts right after this. Cheers.